Hi everyone and welcome to week 6. In week 6 we're going to be looking at the intelligence cycle. So intelligence, which we know is drawn from information, and that information is organized, it's vetted, it's reviewed, it's validated. This process is known as the intelligence cycle, and this is a process that provides, air quotes, the big picture of intelligence and puts it all together. Steps in the intelligence cycle are sequential. You go from one to the next. You can't skip. You can't work backwards. There are 6 steps, and we're going to go through each process. So step 1 is planning and direction. And this is the first phase of the intelligence cycle. And this is going to encompass the management of the entire effort. And this is where questions are asked that begin the remainder of the process. So once the question of focus has been developed, a plan of action is going to be created to gather the information on that issue that has been identified. This requires many considerations, such as budgetary concerns, depending on what the question is. How big is this process? How many analysts are we going to need? How many people are we going to need gathering raw data and information and bringing it to us? How much is this all going to cost? Identification of what kind of intelligence. Who or what are we using to provide this intelligence? Is it going to be human intelligence? Is it going to be financial intelligence? Is it going to be geospatial intelligence, etc.? And identifying the other necessary elements to obtain this plan of action for how we're going to gather the intelligence to answer this question of focus. This is followed by formally tasking specific agencies with intelligence collection. And remember, there are 18 agencies in the intelligence community, so this is a big process, okay? One of the issues that we have to worry about in step 1 is what is known as the swarm ball phenomenon. And this is a circumstance where intelligence agents are going to be drawn to the most, air quotes, flashy, big issue, that the sexy issues, that the exciting stuff that everybody wants to work on, like terrorism. But remember, there's a lot of issues that threaten the homeland and homeland security that are not sexy, that are not flashy, but that absolutely need attention and intelligence gathering and analysis. So, for example, a really good unsexy issue, but one that had catastrophic influence over the economic welfare of the United States, was the mortgage crisis of 2008. Nobody wants to cull through all this intelligence on mortgages and mortgage fraud and, a myriad of other issues that are really wonky and accounting oriented. However, if it goes ignored, then we have what happened in 2008, which almost, the housing crash of 2008 almost destroyed our entire economic foundation, right? Our stock market, our housing market, our mortgage market, the ability for people to get loans, the ability for institutions to give loans, right? So it's not sexy, it's not exciting researching mortgage intelligence on mortgages and lending institutions and so forth, but really necessary, really necessary. And those issues that go unnoticed and unanalyzed because it's not the fun thing that everybody wants to do, it leaves us vulnerable. It leaves the safety and the security of the homeland vulnerable. So we want to avoid the swarm ball phenomenon. So step number 2 is going to be collection. And collection consists of gathering data and delivering information to the correct outlet for processing on intelligence. That last phrase is really important. Getting it to the correct people for processing. So information should be garnered from a myriad of sources. So open sources, which are going to consist of things like domestic broadcasts, news, periodicals, to top secret information, so things like intelligence agents, government agents, information from defectors, to technical sources, so things like cyber-based sources, satellite-related information gathered from electronic surveillance, in order to gain comprehensive coverage of all possible information outlets. The idea here is we want to hit every base. We want to be really thorough in our data collection. We want to make sure that every kind of intelligence that we can utilize to gather information is being utilized. Analysts will request information through requests for information, which are abbreviated as RFIs. And that is when collectors offer up what they deem is most relevant. It is time-sensitive information requests that are utilized to support ongoing operation and or crises. Step 3 is going to be processing and exploitation. And that's where the raw information is not in a form that allows for easy processing into intelligence, so it has to be processed. We have to process it. In some cases, you may have to translate it. You may have to decrypt it. right? It depends on the form of information and the state in which that information was delivered. This is a crucial step because if it's not organized, it never turns into usable intelligence. This is the bottleneck. If we don't take the raw information and analyze it and get it into a usable form of intelligence, it stops. The process stops right here. And all the prior efforts in gathering and collection and data collection are for naught. In addition, it never makes it to the next step, right? Where we create plans of action and we make decisions. So it's really important that we don't hit this bottleneck, that it gets analyzed properly. If it's never processed, it never becomes intelligence, never makes its way through the process. And remember, this is entirely possible because we have a massive, massive volume of information coming into the intelligence community on a daily basis. Remember, that's 18 federal agencies that are getting inundated with intelligence daily. That's a lot of intelligence. So it's very easy for an intelligence to hit this bottleneck. This is even more necessary given we are making greater use of software, which we talked about in the last chapter, because of this volume of information, and this is even more necessary as time goes by. The amount of intelligence increases. Software can organize, vet, analyze, etc., and disseminate far more quickly than human beings can be. And this is even becoming more important because more and more in this very technical world in which we live, that intelligence that we're getting is already encrypted, and a computer can decrypt it way faster than a human being can. Step number 4 is analysis and production, and this is the step that focuses on finished intelligence. So they take the intelligence that has been analyzed and they integrate it into the context that allows for forecasting of future trends and outcomes, meaning we have this intelligence, we're going to take a look and see what is going to happen. We know we have this information. What does this mean? What's going to happen in a week, in a month, in a year? And it allows us to warn of possible threats or future opportunities that could create opportunities that threaten national security. So it's at this stage that intelligence is going to be codified into one of the following categories. It's current intelligence, estimative intelligence, warning intelligence, research intelligence, or it's going to be scientific/technical intelligence. Step 5 in the evaluation process, or in the cycle, is dissemination. And that is going to be getting the intelligence to its intended audience so actions can be taken, so policy can be made. This information has to get to the necessary decision makers, and it may be time sensitive. If it is information about an impending attack, we can't sit on this. When it lands in whoever's desk when we're disseminating it, it can't stay on their desk. It has to be managed. Decisions have to be made. So this can be a make or break step of all previous efforts. So if somebody's really busy and we've got time sensitive information and we get it to the right person, but that person's like, yeah, I can't get to it. I have all these other fires I have to put out. Well, if you don't get to it in time when there's a time sensitive issue where an attack needs to be prevented, financial funds need to be seized so an attack can't be developed and carried out, then everything that was done previously is useless. The final step in the cycle is step number 6, and that's evaluation. And this is a constant process on intelligence that is provided and the clarifications that are needed by decision makers as time goes by. Remember, everything in life is dynamic. Things are constantly changing. So they may have received intelligence, actionable intelligence today, but tomorrow something may have changed, right? So we always have to be reevaluating, clarifying. Okay, this is as of yesterday. Tell me what it is as of today so that I can make the most up-to-date decision on policy, on actions that we might take, so I can make appropriate decisions. Constant evaluation also allows intelligence processes to improve over time.